Today I'm going to show you how to make some delicious Kit Kat brownies. They are super fudgy brownies with a crinkly and crackly top filled with Kit Kats in the centre and Kit Kats on top. If you want to know how I make this, then keep watching. So brownies are fairly easy to make in a few simple steps, but I'm going to share some tips and tricks with you along the way to take them from average brownies to incredible brownies. So the first step we are going to do is melt together our butter and our dark chocolate. I'm going to do this directly on the pan because we have the butter there, so it's not going to burn the chocolate as easily. And then we've got our chocolate here too. And then we're just going to put this on a low heat until it is all melted together. That is our butter and chocolate pretty much all melted together now. So I'm going to pop this behind me on a cooling rack, and then we'll move on to the second half of the batter. So this is kind of where all the magic happens, and I will explain what I mean by that in a second. But we're going to mix together our eggs, and I've got some vanilla in here as well, and also both of our sugars. So I've got light brown sugar in here and I've got caster sugar too. So we're going to mix this together, but there's a bit of a balance to find here. So we want to whip this together enough for the sugars to dissolve in the eggs, because that's what's going to give us our crinkly and shiny top, which is what we love on brownies. However, we don't want to mix too much air into these, otherwise they're going to taste a little bit cakey in texture. We do want to keep them fudgy. So I'm going to mix these until I can draw a figure of 8 in the eggs, and I'll show you what I mean by that in a second. So the eggs and sugar is naturally going to increase in volume, it's going to get thicker as well. And what I mean by the figure of 8 is if you grab some of your mixture on the end of your paddles, you can draw a figure of 8 into the mixture, and it just starts disappearing as you are doing it, and that means that this is ready to go. You can absolutely mix this by hand as well. I prefer to do it with an electric mixer because I'm weak and I haven't got the arm strength to do that by hand, but I tend to do it on a lower speed rather than high speed, just to try and control things a little bit more. So by this stage our chocolate mixture has cooled down ever so slightly. It will still be warm, but we just don't want it hot because we don't want to cook the eggs. So I'm going to pour this into here, and then we're going to get a whisk and gently stir this and watch this transform into an indulgent chocolate batter. Now we're going to add in our dry ingredients. So I've got plain flour here, cocoa powder and some salt as well. You don't have to add the salt, but it really helps to bring out the chocolate flavour. And then again, just mix this in until it is all well combined. And that is our batter pretty much done. Brownie batter looks very different for different people. I prefer mine to be wetter. Some people prefer it to be thicker. I find that a wetter mixture, because you add in less flour and less cocoa powder and generally less dry ingredients, the brownies are fudgier. So the more dry ingredients you add, technically the more cakey it's going to be, whereas the less dry ingredients you add, technically it's more fudgy. So I prefer to have a bit more of a wetter batter, and that's purely because I've just added less dry ingredients in. So now we move on to our tin. Obviously I'm unwrapping these, but how perfectly do these Kit Kats fit inside this tin? So this is an 8 by 10 inch tin, and I've greased and lined it, and I've got 14 2-bar Kit Kats in here. So I'm going to unwrap all of these. Obviously I was just testing them to see how many I could fit in. So we're going to pour half of this in, and then we're going to top it with our Kit Kats, and then we'll top it with the other half. So you just want to spread it out to the corners. Okay, and then we just put all of our Kit Kats on very gently. This is very, very satisfying. And then we go back in with the rest of our brownie batter on top, and just pour this all the way around. Your Kit Kats are going to move, there's nothing you can do about them, but as long as they're completely coated with brownies, they shouldn't burn in the oven. I really don't think there's a way to do this without making a mess, but maybe it's just me because I make a mess with everything. See, I've got it all over my jumper now. Then very gently just spread it round. It's probably already done half the work for you anyway, but just want to make sure that our Kit Kats are completely covered. So I'm going to bake this now at 160 degrees Celsius. That's for a fan assisted oven for roughly 25 minutes. You are looking for them to be gooey, so this is my next tip, and I'll show you exactly what it looks like when you take them out of the oven. We obviously don't want them to be raw, but we do want them to be gooey, because if you bake them too much, then that's when they dry out and they turn cakey. So to make a fudgy brownie, we want to undercook them, and I very rarely say we want to undercook anything in the baking world, but with brownies we do. So our brownies are done. They took 25 minutes in total, and this is what I mean by them being slightly undercooked. So if I grab a cocktail stick, kind of hard with these because obviously there's Kit Kats in the middle, so there's melted chocolate in the middle anyway. But if I go around the edge, I'm still hitting Kit Kats everywhere. I'm still getting chocolate coming onto the cocktail stick. So if you was to do this in cake, you'd want the cocktail stick to come out completely clean. But with brownies, you want there to be some chocolate left over, and that means that they're going to set really fudgy. As you can see, we've got the crinkly, flaky top as well. There is a bit of a balance to find with brownies. I prefer using some brown sugar in my brownies because it gives a chewier texture. The more brown sugar you use, the less crinkly the top is going to be. So the recipe and the quantities that I've got in the description will give you this crinkly top whilst giving it a really fudgy, chewy texture as well. So for the top of the brownies, I've got these leftover Kit Kat mini eggs, which I've just cut in half. And then I've got some crushed Kit Kats as well, which I've literally just chopped up really finely. So I'm gonna press these all in whilst the brownie is still warm, because then it is going to melt ever so slightly into the brownie. And then I'm gonna literally pour on the crushed Kit Kats. And then with a spoon, just because this is still really hot, we're just going to push the Kit Kats in slightly. Obviously the chocolate is going to melt into these, but not the wafer. So I just like to push them in to give it all a little bit of a helping hand. My next tip for fudgy brownies, and you're going to hate me, I know it. I hate myself with it. We need to let these cool completely. And by that, I mean putting them in the fridge, ideally overnight. I know you can hate me, I'm really sorry. But what it's going to do is start to set the chocolate, and it gives the most perfect fudgy brownies ever. So I promise it is worth it. But I get that if you want to eat them now whilst they're still warm, not quite yet because they're really hot, but if you can leave them to cool for at least a few hours in the fridge, ideally overnight, you will get the best fudgy brownies ever. And then I'll see you tomorrow where we chop up these brownies and do a taste test. The brownies have set and I cannot wait to try them. So I'm gonna grab them out of the tin. Roll my sleeves up for this. And now we get to cut it up and see our first look inside of it. Trying to figure out where halfway is. Our first peek. Ta-da! Look at the Kit Kats. I wouldn't pay attention to my cutting skills, clearly, but I do know how to make a good brownie, and look at the inside of this. So we have a super fudgy brownie, all of the Kit Kats inside, and this is why you have to trust the process when it comes to brownies. And it is finally taste test time. Yay! Okay, let's get a little one. I've got it all over me, and I feel like I've definitely got it around my mouth somewhere. So I apologise if I have. It is super fudgy. It just like melts in your mouth. Not cakey at all. You've got the crunch of the Kit Kats in the centre of it. Honestly, perfection. Even if I do say so myself. Please let me know in the comments if you try this recipe, or if you want more brownie recipes, what you'd love to see in brownies. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next week for another video. Thanks for watching. Bye.